So I've got a spooky story for you. This story actually originates in 2010, the early months, the winter months of 2010, and it occurred in Dallas, Texas. I was working and playing music in Dallas, and my girlfriend at the time and I liked to party. Well, this particular evening was one of those nights where we decided to stay in because it was very, very cold that winter. So we decided to stay in, have a few drinks, then have a few more drinks, and just have a good time. My girlfriend was a cigarette smoker, so after several drinks, we decided to go out, and she was going to have a smoke, and I would just kind of hang out with her while she did that. And I'm a huge fan of the cold, so that was no big deal. I love cold weather, so I enjoyed every second of it. Well, I was a little tipsy at the time, actually very tipsy at the time. I was buzzing pretty good. And as we are wont to do when we're buzzing, sometimes we can do some weird stuff. Well, I decided to bring my camera with me out there, and I thought it would be cool to just take pictures of the fog after I blew it out. And I promise I was not smoking anything. This was just fog. So I did that a couple of times, inhaled deeply, exhaled, blew it out, and took a picture. We went in a few minutes later. I didn't think anything of it. The next morning, though, my girlfriend wakes up and, we're making breakfast and she's looking at the pictures from the previous night. And she says, "Baby, you need to come over here and look at this." And, I'm still kind of, bleh. I'm like, okay, sure. So she asked me a couple more times and I finally make my way over to the couch. And she says, "What is that?" And she's pointing at the camera, at one of the pictures I had taken the previous night. And it was one of those pictures of the fog I had breathed out and taken a picture of. And the first thing I noticed was this weird little goofy looking face inside the fog that had come out of me. And at first I kind of scratched my head. I was like, am I seeing this? Am I imagining this? And no, she saw the exact same thing. And what's fascinating is the longer I looked at this, the more interesting things I saw. Such as directly beneath the goofy little grinning face was a perfectly formed skull. The detail of that skull, and I mean perfectly formed, the detail of that skull is something I could not have created in 1,000 years on any kind of digital program. And then as I stepped back, I saw a third figure, what appeared to me to be like a Grim Reaper type figure. And I was pretty shocked. I was very shocked, actually, and didn't really know what to think of it at the time. This was a few years before I got into spirituality. So I'm just kind of, in that middle zone. I'm not believing, I'm not a skeptic, I'm just kind of keeping an open mind. So for the next few days, I take my camera around to the people I know and I work with, and I ask them, "Hey, do you see what I see? What do you see?" Some of them said, "Yeah, I see some or all of what you see." Others said, "I don't see a dang thing." Well, eventually I decided to take this to a minister friend of mine who I called the preacher. And he was an older guy from Tennessee, very much the old school hellfire brimstone evangelical preacher. And I loved him for that very much. Very honest human being. So I said, "Preacher, I'm seeing some different stuff in here. I see at least 3 figures. What do you see?" So I hand the camera to the preacher and he says, matter-of-factly, "Oh yeah, there's 3 demons there." Puts the camera back down and takes a sip of his coffee. Like it's no big deal. Now, I've taken pictures since in various situations, various spooky situations, ghost hunts, hauntings, whatever. I've never had a capture quite like this. And it really made me stop and wonder why. Why of all photos, why of all places did these entities decide to show up? And one idea I had was this. When I took this photo, I was pretty well inebriated. I wouldn't say I was drunk, but I certainly was not in a condition to drive. I was certainly buzzing pretty good. And when you start to learn about the spirit world, about the spiritual plane, One of the things you come to understand is that the spirits of the deceased and other entities as well really like the sensations that come with having a body. You think about what it means to be a human and to have a physical body, what it is that we can feel. Well, we can feel a lot of things. If you eat a good meal, you have that satisfaction afterwards. Things like having sex, things like doing drugs, things like getting tipsy, all these things are pleasurable activities. And so it makes a lot of sense that entities that used to have a body or that want to experience the feelings of having a body will gravitate towards people who are enjoying those activities. Now, I'm not saying that people who have a few drinks are evil, or people that go to bars are evil, or people that even go to strip clubs are evil. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, though, is that those kind of activities will attract the spirit world. And some substances are more attractive and more powerful than others. Alcohol being one of the most powerful. And that particular night, I had imbibed greatly. I was enjoying myself. And that is why I think those entities made an appearance. They were riding along with me, and they were getting a buzz just by being around me. And I do believe there is a strong connection to the spiritual world with alcohol. And there's a reason why liquor is often referred to as spirits. I think that people have known this for quite a while. I would also posit that drugs, hard drugs like methamphetamine, crystal meth, are also a gateway to that spirit world. That particular drug, though, is a gateway to the hardcore negative side. Speaking to some friends who are spiritualists as well, they would certainly certify marijuana is also a gateway. THC, cannabis, also a gateway into the spiritual. And I believe that's more just a general opening for THC. That's going to depend on where you're coming from spiritually. But I thought this photo is fascinating. I think it's a perfect fit for pre-Halloween. Certainly would like to know what you see in this picture. It's okay if you don't see anything. But I want to make it clear, I have not altered this picture at all. The second one, I'm just zooming in a little bit so you can get perhaps a better view. But this photo has not been altered one bit. That's something I just refuse to do. I don't have a need for that. In any case, it'd be cool to hear what you think about this. Your thoughts on spirituality, ghost, hauntings. Have you ever seen anything quite like this? What are your stories with the spiritual plane? This is Kevin in Texas saying God bless each and every one of you and have a happy Halloween. I'll talk to you later. Bye.